Coach, just talking about preparation for this, a game of this magnitude, a semifinal game, how does that affect preparation, and how has that been going for you?
I would think what affects preparation probably the most is just the time in between when we played last. I don't know how many days that's been, but you're never really used to having almost a full month off from the last time you played, guys finishing up finals, getting them going again, then you have a break for Christmas, which is well-deserved by our players, and then getting them going again. But we're excited to get back after it. We've had a really good 3 weeks of preparation and a great start to this week.
All right, thanks. For the players, you guys have had an opportunity to do a lot of things while you've been in town for Bowl Week, go to a lot of events, activities. What's the highlight of the week for each of you so far? Stetson, start with you.
I think the highlight so far is when we were playing, was it Family Feud? And I think we won that one. So it was short-lived. I think Ohio State won the next game. I can't remember, but it was pretty exciting when we got that victory.
All right, Sedrick?
I think for me, the most exciting thing probably was talking to Andrew Young last night. He had a lot of things to say about the civil rights movement and different things like that. And as a guy who enjoys history, it was really good to kind of be around that.
Awesome, appreciate that. All right, we'll go ahead and go right into questions. Raise your hand, please. We'll get you a microphone. Please make sure you give us your name and affiliation. All right, right here in the front row on the right.
Yeah, Brooks Austin, Dogs Daily. Coach Monken, I'm just curious. We can all see Brock's extremely versatile, but could you talk to the mental bandwidth it requires to know that many different positions and play that many different positions in your offense?
Well, we've had this conversation since I've been here about Brock and what kind of worker he is, attention to detail, the mental toughness that he has, and he's really developed in a lot of areas. And it's a credit to him. It's a credit to his upbringing and his family. And like I said, there's a lot of things you can do with him. He's outstanding with the ball in his hands. He's got an elite catch radius, ability to compete to go get the football, and he's meant a lot to us in terms of this year, in terms of with having AD out and his ability to make plays.
All right, let's go down here, halfway back on the right.
Sarah Spencer with the AJC. My question's for Stetson. Stetson, when you look at this Ohio State defense, what stands out to you about it and just what that defense does really well and how you guys will have to kind of counteract it?
They first of all, they have really good players and they execute their system. They try to cause havoc. They can come from a lot of different places. They do their assignment, and in order for us to be successful, we have to do ours. That's trusting, Sed whenever he's making the calls and, talking to him. But at the end of the day, they've got a really good football team. We've got a really good football team. And it's going to come out down to who executes better on Saturday.
Next, all right, we're going to go halfway back on the right side.
Jed May with UGAsports.com. This is for Coach Monken and Sedrick. And you guys' view, what has allowed the offensive line to develop and really seem like play some of its best football over the last month and a half of the season?
I think really what has helped our development throughout the season has been Coach Searles. He's really done a great job of preparing more than 5 guys. He's done a tremendous job of getting guys like Amarius, Jared Wilson. I know I'm forgetting some guys, but honestly, all of those guys, he's done a tremendous job of making sure that we can put a lot of guys in and still have a very similar production. So I want to give all the credit to Coach Searles in preparing us.
I think it's, first of all, it's having good players. Okay, you got to have good players. If you have good players that work their butts off every day, have elite attention to detail, they're going to continue to get better. And I think we have to remember that Broderick hadn't played a lot of football till this year. Sed was a 1-year starter. Tate was out all last year. Amarius Mims hadn't played a lot of football. Xavier Truss was not a starter before. Devin Willick had not played a lot of football. So I think if you've got the right guys that have talent, that are elite in terms of attention to detail, and will try to play physical every week, they're going to continue to improve.
Okay, over here, Jeff.
Jeff Schultz of The Athletic. Stetson, what has Todd Monken meant to you personally, and how's he helped develop you and support you?
You know, a ton. I feel like before he got here, I didn't really understand football. It was weird, even in 2020. Didn't really know what was going on. You know, I guess I knew what play was called. Other than that, you know, I mean, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just the countless meetings. You know, maybe I'm a slow learner, but, you know, finally it did start clicking. Whenever he'd tell me the same thing, you know, 20 for the 20th time, and look at me like I was, you know, like, why do you not do what I just tell you to do? Right? I'm your coach. And so just repetitive, just doing that. I think that honestly the most important thing that he's done is just stay consistent. You know, be there, because, you know, we do have a lot of knuckleheads who need time and you know, reps and all that stuff to learn. And you know, so he's not very, sometimes he's not very patient, but, you know, he's very consistent, and we hear the same thing every single day. And eventually you're going to start doing things right if you hear that every day.
All right, over here on the left side, Justin.
This question's for Stetson. I'm Justin Felder with Fox 5 Atlanta, and I got a quick follow-up if I could. This time last year, we were asking you a ton of questions about your flip phone. Have you taken any steps this year, cell phone or otherwise, to block out the noise?
No, not so drastic as that, no.
And just a quick follow-up, if I could. You know, Coach Smart's talked about it before, your desire to prove people wrong, right, and the chip on your shoulder. Does that stay there even with a Heisman invite and a national championship ring and an SEC championship? And if so, how do you keep that as a motivating factor for you?
I mean, it's never been a chip on my shoulder or a, you know, prove people wrong. It's hard to describe, but I don't think of it that way, right? Because, I don't know, but I just want to be the best I can be. And if I'm not, then I start to, you know, be like, I don't know, I don't like it. And I love football, and I want to play football. You know, Heisman ceremony was very, you know, that was a huge honor. That's not why I play, you know, so that's not going to change the way I play, you know. So we've got a game to win, and we got to prepare like it, otherwise we won't. So.
All right, next one right here in the front row on the right.
Evan Kroll with Dogs Daily. Sedrick, you know, being the center and kind of the quarterback of the offensive line, a lot of large responsibility falls on your plate. When you study this Ohio State defensive front, is there one player in particular that you kind of enjoy watching or just keeps coming up and reoccurring?
One thing that comes up a lot on film is that all of them do their job extremely well. They play really well together in the system. And, of course, you know, guys flash. You know, the media gives a lot of guys attention, but one thing I see about this defensive front seven is really that they all do their jobs collectively together. Nobody's a blinking light. Nobody's trying to be this big guy. Everybody's collectively working together, and that's huge. That's why they're so, you know, good, and why what they're doing is working. So really what I've seen on film is that they all just do a really good job together, like working for one common goal.
All right, over here on the left, Zach.
Hey, Stetson, Zach Klein from Channel 2 here in Atlanta. In every great Hollywood script, the hero overcomes a low point or some adversity. For you, what was it, and who'd you lean on to get through it?
Just in my life?
Your journey into Georgia football.
You know, I mean, that's, you know, there was a lot of up and downs, you know, when I wasn't playing, and then when I was playing, I didn't play well enough, and then I wasn't playing again, and, you know, all those things. You know, as far as leaned on, I didn't really, you know, I talked to people who made me feel good, but then at the end of the day, I realized that, you know, yeah, this makes me feel good, but if I want something to change, then I got to stop leaning on anybody. I got to go do something to change it. And so, you know, I think that's what happened at the end of the day.
All right, over here, Doug.
Doug Robertson, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The Ohio State players who were in here before y'all were asked what advantages they think they might have against the offense. And they said, we have advantages across the board. And I wanted to see if y'all wanted to respond to that.
Well, I mean, they should have confidence. They have a good football team. I'm not going to sit here and say that we think in terms of this X, Y, and Z, we have advantages. We have a good football team. I mean, and our tape proves that. Their tape proves it. So at the end of the day, we got good football players. They got good football players. At this point, it's going to come down to execution. It's going to come down to our preparation that leads up to this, and it won't come down to whether we think we have advantages or we don't think we have advantages. Because at the end of the day, when both teams have good players, it's it's going to come down to doing the little things well and execution.
All right. Stetson, do you see any advantages that they have?
That Ohio State has?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I don't really want to get into the particulars right now, but, obviously they were undefeated until the last game of the season. It's hard to do that. And we were too last year until we lost to Alabama. And then, we ended up winning it all. So we certainly are not taking Ohio State lightly. They've got, like I said, they've got advantages all over the board. And, so we're going to have to go play football.
Yeah. Sedrick?
I think the biggest thing I would like to just focus on is that, like Coach Monken said, we both have good players on each side, and it really is going to come down to execution. I really have a lot of respect for Ohio State, the program, and everything that they stand for, but I also have a lot of pride in Georgia football. So we just really look forward to continuing to prepare and just go out there and competing.
All right, very good. We'll go right here on the right.
Yeah, Brooks Austin, Dogs Daily. It's a question for both Stet and Sedrick. I'm just curious, a unique relationship between quarterback and center. Maybe speak about how one has lessened the burden or maybe the workload on Saturdays between the other and how the relationship has developed.
Honestly, I don't think it's less by either. I think it's more of a trust that each guy will get the job done, and also a connection in knowing that if he tells me something or I tell him something, there's no ego. It's nothing against you personally. It's all for the betterment of the team. And I think understanding that genuinely the time that we've spent outside of football, it comes into play. And I really enjoy playing, next to this guy right next to me. So at the end of the day, we both just try to make sure we get our job done and trusting each other for the team.
It's you just kind of find that mold where you're not, it happens smoothly, and I don't think we may have dropped 2 snaps. In practice, and it works, and like Seth said, nothing's personal, nothing's I don't. If he makes the right call, then he makes the right call, and it does not matter. And Sed's done a great job of growing and learning and becoming a smarter football player and a better football player. So I can lean on him more. I can trust him more, and I can just say little things, and then he responds, and I know what that means, right? It just comes a little shorthand, easy speak, but that comes with time. And why are you laughing? I don't know. It's been a pleasure and an honor playing behind him. So.
All right, right here, Sarah.
Sarah Spencer with the AJC. For Coach Monken, how have you seen your offense grow and develop over the course of the season to now put you guys in the position you're in today?
I don't. We went through last year, we lost George, and it forces you to adapt, and then, you lose AD early in the year, and you're forced to adapt, and luckily, we've got other good players. Probably the most constant we've had is these 2 guys right here, because the epicenter of what you do is your center and your quarterback. They make it go. They're the ones that communicate up front. So those 2 guys have been the reason we've been where we're at, along with everybody else, and the continued improvement of the O-line, the consistency there. But it's hard for me to pinpoint because in my mind, averages just make you feel good, at the end of the year. What's going to matter most Saturday is that we score, we don't turn it over. It won't matter what we've done really up till this point other than, our execution, how we practice this week, and be able to put it on the field Saturday night.
All All right, next, all the way in the back on the right.
Dean Legge from Dog Post. Todd, when y'all, for lack of a better term, benched Stetson after the Jacksonville game a couple of years ago, what was his sort of journey like that you saw in that almost 10 months before he really took back over?
Well, it's a complete credit to him and really nothing to do with me. All we did was try to bury him for the couple of years he was here, and all he did was continue to fight and compete and had every reason to say, you know what, I'm gone in today's day and age of the portal and guys leaving. He didn't do that. He wanted to be a Georgia Bulldog, wanted to be the quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. I think that we've come out the other side probably better collectively. He's very prideful, and we wouldn't be where we're at without him. And collectively, we've improved. I've done a better job of coaching him. He's done a better job of accepting that part of it. He always had talent, always had ability. We talked about it last year getting ready for Michigan. There was a back and forth about Stetson and JT, and all I said was just look at the film. Just look at the film and the plays he's made. And even this year, look at the plays that he's made to get us where we're at. And, sometimes you don't always make the right decision. We're human too in terms of who we play. And then you got to reverse course and say, you know what, we're wrong. This is the guy.
All right, next, row 3 over here, Justin.
Stetson, it's Justin from Fox 5 Atlanta. It's not like you guys play any small games. They're all in front of 75, 80, 100,000 and on national TV. But some of your biggest games have come on the biggest stages. Playoffs last year, the opener, SEC championship. What is it about the biggest stages that brings out often the best in you?
I don't know. I think I understand the importance of it. Maybe. I don't know. And, again, if there's no choice, it's easy, right? I mean, if you don't give yourself another choice than to play well or win, then you don't have another option. And you don't waste any time looking for that option. You spend all your time looking to win. So that's kind of how I think about it.
All right, over here, Charles.
Todd, Charles Odom, Associated Press. To follow up again on Stetson, he's often self-critical, but when he says that when he started with you that he was a guy who didn't understand football, what would you say about that, and where would you say he's made the most growth?
Well, I think he's overplaying that way too much because I'm sitting here. The reality is Stetson is a very, very football smart player. I guess maybe I had to win too many but Stetson's a very smart player. He loves football. I mean, he sits in there, studies it, will be in there late. He wants to know everything about what we're doing, how to do it better. He's one of the rare guys at this level that you can be quarterback controlled, and he can run it. He can get us in and out of plays. He can see it. Has a fantastic football mind. So to say that, like I said, that's unfair to himself. It's unfair to his preparation and what he's done. I do think there's a point in a player's progression where maybe, and this is a guess, we've never talked about that. Okay, Stetson comes in, he leaves, comes back. What vision does he have of himself? Sure, he'd love to be the starter at Georgia, but deep down, is he really thinking, like, okay, I'm going to be the starter at Georgia? I think once you get a chance to play in meaningful games and you realize, like, I always believed I could play, because we played Arkansas my first year here, and thank God he came in the game and rescued our ass because he played his rear end off. And right there, maybe to him and us, we're like, man, this guy's a really good football player, and so I think that there's a little too much he's putting on that about me, and the fact that maybe it's a combination of two things of like, okay, man, I can do this, and how do I maximize my measurable skill set? How do I get better that I've worked on gets better? And then for us, how do we try to find ways to maximize what he does well to give us the best chance to win?
All right, right here, Zach.
Todd, Zach from Channel 2 here in Atlanta. How is Michigan able to create so many explosive plays? And now is this where the chess match comes, where you think then Ohio State's defense will react this way, so we have to do this, et cetera?
Oh, a couple of the couple of the plays at the end of the game came when they were trying to stop the run. So it's kind of hard. The game was kind of in the point where they had to get a stop, and they got a couple of long runs. But early in the game, they went 0, and they missed a tackle on a hitch route. They were second away from getting a sack, and they missed a tackle, and he went the distance. And then, they had defenders run into each other one time on a wheel route. They caught him in a cloud coverage and hit across the field, race route. So, they were able to take advantage of, I guess you'd call it sometimes a miscue by the defense or some play action. But again, the game is really simple. I mean, it's really, how do we be explosive? How do we not turn it over? How do we get on third downs? Do we score touchdowns in the red zone? And do we not, get lost yards plays that put you behind the chains? And they did those things. They were able to be explosive. They didn't turn it over. They held Ohio State at times, so it gave them a chance to continue to plug ahead. So, they're no different than any other team you play. Is if you're not able to be explosive, you're going to have a hard time scoring. It just worked out in that game that Michigan hit some plays that gave them a chance to be explosive. And that's in games we've had success against, unless we've been significantly better. If you don't find ways to be explosive, you're going to have a hard time scoring points.
All right, halfway back on the right over here.
Todd Cameron with The Athletic. Ohio State has a lot of depth up front at the defensive line. They have a lot of talent on the edge. Just what do you see from their edge rushers on film that stands out?
Well, they're long and rangy. And I think the one thing, they're twitchy inside. I know you're talking about their outside guys. They create issues with their looks. So you have to be careful to not chase ghosts, but you have to be prepared because they're not afraid to pressure you. As these guys said earlier, from the field, from the boundary, different players pressuring you, so you have to be dialed into what looks they're giving you, but definitely their edge guys can create issues. Again, like any team that we've played in the past that have had really good players up front, the best way to be able to negate that is to be able to run the football, be able to get the ball out of your hands, be able to protect, chip when you can. And if we're able to do that and not be in long yardage situations or get behind, then it doesn't eliminate really good players, but it limits their ability to affect the game. That happened last year against Michigan. We got ahead early. We were able to run the football. We got it out of our hands. Against LSU with their edge guys, that's the key to it. Otherwise, those guys can really disrupt the game.
All right, next question right here in the front on the right.
Coach Monken, a lot has been made of these Georgia practices over the past few years, but the bottom line is that there's a work ethic and player empowerment that is kind of unrivaled across the college football landscape. In a week like this where emotions can be heightened, what sense of comfort do you take as a coaching staff knowing that these players are going to come out and be accountable for each other in that practice setting?
Well, I think the biggest comfort you take is watching your guys work. We can only go by what we see. You recruit good players, you have a structure and a system, and then you go to work. And like I tell the offensive staff, I can't call plays that I don't see during the week work. I mean, that's a rarity. So the looks that we get by the scout group and our execution gives you confidence to call it. And the exact same thing is true with your players. Is anybody that says, well, I'm not really a practice player, doesn't play. That makes no sense to me, because I can only go by in our staff by what you do every day and how you work and gain the trust of your player, your teammates and the coaches as to when you put them on the field. And when that occurs, then you have a lot of faith of what the product will look like because you've seen it every day and the work they've put in. Because when you have talent and they play their rear ends off and they work and have attention to detail, the game's just a byproduct of that.
All right, time for one or two more. Anybody? Where are we going next? Last chance for questions. Okay, right here in the front row on the right.
Coach, and I guess you can answer this too, Seb, being an offensive lineman. When they have edge rushers like that are so prone to get upfield and get after the quarterback, I guess how much does the play action impact that? And maybe how do you attack that in the run game? Take advantage of it, rather.
All right, go ahead, Sedrick.
So when you kind of look at it, they really do have some amazing edge rushers. Those guys really get after it, super athletic, different things like that. And as far as like the run game, you really just have to focus on what's the staple of what we believe in. One of the things that we believe in here is running the ball. So no matter how athletic or no matter how gifted or God gifted somebody may be, you have to do everything in your might to fight, to stand on what you believe in. And, and as the offensive line here at Georgia, we genuinely believe on, being tough guys and doing everything that we can to help this football team win. So despite everything that they may possess, you have to give everything you have for this team because it is everything. This G is everything that we play for, everything that we work for. So despite their God-given talent, we have to go out there and give our all.
Coach?
Yeah, I mean, they got good players. I mean, we got good players. They got good players. Let's go. I mean, it is what it is. That we played teams that have good players. They played teams that have good players. And, it comes down to, how we prepare and the plan that we put together for our guys to give them the best chance to be successful. And like I said, they've got good players.